Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. You're welcome to today's episode of Public Health in Real Life series, where we have some phenomenal women with us who will be celebrating International Women's Day. Public Health in Real Life series is a platform where we hope to highlight global health issues that are currently causing challenges within the globe. We also help to highlight the voices of people on the field, especially from low and middle income countries and underserved communities, all in a bid to ensure that we play our part in achieving health equity. Now, I would like to introduce my co host, Sunithra. Sunithra, over to you.
Thank you, Maimunat. First of all, wishing the panelists and everyone around the globe a very happy Women's Day. I'm Sunithra. I'm a public health enthusiast and a student, a master's in public health student at George Washington University. And like Maimuna said, I will be co-moderating the discussion today. So I'm very, very happy to be doing the introductions. We have very enterprising women leaders in our panel today. So I'll start by introducing Fujiya Mahmudi. She is the co-founder of Operation Smile Morocco and the regional vice president for the Middle East and North Africa region of Operation Smile Inc. Madam Fujia's past experiences have spanned a couple of industries and large organizations like Xerox, Pepsi Cola, Locker and Citibank, where she actually started as an assistant manager and reached up to the resident vice president. Mrs. Mahmoudi started volunteering with Operation Smile, Morocco in 1999 while still with Citibank as the co-founder and general secretary of the board. She eventually moved on to become the regional director, North Africa and Middle East for Operation Smile Inc., and eventually the co-founder and regional vice president of the MENA region in 2000. A very, very warm welcome to you. And we have another very interesting person, Osasumen Odobo. She's a social entrepreneur, gender and development expert with over 12 years of experience as a gender advocate, infusing new media and technology to propagate gender inclusion. She is the curator of Herficient's mobile app, an anonymous online platform for survivors of sexual violence to access resources, group support, information, and ultimately a community to work out the journey to recovery. She also uses social enterprise to continually empower women economically and socially. She holds a master's degree in managerial psychology and certifications in social sector management and is a 2018 Mandela Washington Fellow with a certificate in civic leadership from Rutgers University. She previously worked as the program director of Bimbo Odukoya Foundation, where she facilitated various women's safety and gender inclusion activities. Again, we're very happy to have you on the panel today. I think we are having a few technical issues. She will be able to join us soon. Over to you, Maimunat.
Thank you very much for that very warm welcome of our panelist, Sunithra. So our last panelist for today is Tembile Mugore, also known as Tembi. Tembi, as she's fondly called, is a native of Zimbabwe. Go Zim. She's a nurse and midwife who also holds an MPH, all from the United Kingdom. She has over 20 years of experience in various leadership roles in reproductive health and family planning and also maternal and child health. She has led and provided technical assistance to strengthen maternal and child health programs and family planning and reproductive health programs, mostly in East and Southern Africa. She has lived in and supported programs in diverse country and health system context, particularly Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, South Sudan, Togo, Senegal, Burkina Faso, and Bangladesh. In addition to all of this amazing work that Tembi has done, she has provided leadership and technical guidance for health system strengthening and human resources for health for a regional HIV and AIDS program in Southern Africa, specifically in Lesotho, Swaziland, Malawi, Namibia, and Botswana. Welcome, Tembi, and we're glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
As you all know, the theme for this year's International Women's Day by UN Women is Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. We also know that women have been at the forefront and on the front lines of all of the pandemic responses and preparedness that happened during this period. I would ask each of you panelists to please highlight your leadership journey, especially in healthcare and in all other sectors that you've worked, starting with you, Madam Fujiya.
Okay. Hopefully there is no issue. Okay. I think that you are hearing me now. Okay, so I am the Vice President and co-founder of Operations Man Morocco, and we have been going through some special days during this COVID time in Morocco. So our activity, our last activity as a mission, it was all women's mission, and that happened in March 2020. And from that time, we have stopped all our activities because of the confinement. 3 months later, we have been able to reconduct slowly our activities. And we started by coming back to the center, taking care of the newborn kids with the cleft lip and cleft palate. The NAM and which is the nasal alveolar modeling and the FMOs, they were conducted as usual with non-stop. So we have been able to just display them differently and welcome them to the centers in a different manner, respecting the distanciation and respecting the barriers of security. And then we came back to our dental activity and to our screening, surgical screening activities. And lately, in December 2020, we have decided, since all the hospitals were closed, the public hospitals where we are used to work were closed, we have decided to create a new relationship with the private clinics. So I contacted a few clinics and I was welcomed by some of them. So we have since then started doing small missions weekly, once a week. Once a month, we are doing a weekend mission by the end of each month, and we are treating 15 patients, which is really good number in this time of pandemic, because this is allowing us to continue to respect all the barriers of security that we are observing during those difficult days. So I think that this is for the healthcare, this is a very big achievement in such a difficult time and difficult moments where everything is closed and everything is difficult to be achieved, but we have achieved a lot during this pandemic. The other thing is that because we are having the intention to open a fourth center in Marrakesh, we have been working virtually together with our architects and our team to prepare the options of the drawings during that time. And now we have reached the final option, and we have started also virtually to the process of constructions, which is not going to happen virtually, but it is going to happen whenever we are going to have all of us our vaccines. So this is what we are have been doing during this very difficult time of COVID.
Thank you so much, Madam Fujiya. It's really just great to hear your inspiring story and then your path to leadership. So Stembile, the same question to you. Can you please highlight your journey into leadership in healthcare?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. I think whilst I'm ready to answer that question, one of the things that I must say and acknowledge is that for a lot of us, a lot of women that found themselves in leadership, that started in childhood, that started as a girl child, where we were mentors, so to say, of our mothers, were mentees of our mothers who inspired us that we could go far as girl children, as a girl child. I was born in a family which is very much male dominated, but I give credit to my own mother who showed that leadership, that I could have a voice amongst men. And when I went into nursing, my profession was really grounded and dates back to colonial days when women were brought up to either be a nurse, a teacher, or a secretary. And those were the three dominant professions at that time. And I went into nursing. That's a story for another time. But it was what I found in nursing was that it was very female dominated. It's a very female dominated profession. And in the UK, you went from where you were a staff nurse, you became a nursing sister, you became a nursing officer. The leadership ladder was very short. It really, you hit the glass ceiling very, very fast. But coming back, I got to where I hit the glass ceiling in the UK. I actually exited at nursing officer level. But when I went back to Zimbabwe, I was partly teaching and I was a nursing sister. I continued with passion for women's health. I continued to feel I could make a contribution to inspire young nurses to be the best they can. And over the years, I drifted into global health. I became a technical advisor for family planning, maternal and newborn health. Again, that was my journey or my entry into a very much male-dominated leadership role. The people that I was working with, I remember I used to be the only woman sitting in this huge office in Uganda with five of the other people were men and they were all doctors. Whilst there was a lot of respect, I think there was also bias, like this TA is a young female TA. What can she offer? But I think because of my upbringing, because of my own journey, I was able to have a voice in there. And I remember in a lot of times finding myself either as the only female seated amongst male policymakers making decisions about women's health, or I probably was one or two of, and those disparities were very obvious. They played out and they continue, unfortunately, to play out right now in the nursing, particularly in the nursing field, which I'm very passionate about, that we still have a very low percentage of leadership in the health profession that is female, and yet we have a profession in the health workforce who is over 60% female, particularly in the nursing and midwifery workforce. And those disparities continue to live with us and they continue to carry forward. Whilst we recognize the importance of female leadership, whilst we recognize there aren't just a lot of us. I've also had the opportunity, I think, in my travels in different countries, to meet very inspiring fellow female leaders. They're there. They're out there. The only challenge is, are we giving them enough voice? And I think I will end there. My journey has been one of interesting, one of opportunities, and one of privilege to be inside and yet be outside as an observer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tembi. This is definitely a remarkable journey, and You had mentioned something about women occupying more than 60% of positions in health workforce, especially nursing. It's interesting that Women in Global Health and other organizations actually reported that women make up almost 70%, if not more, of the health workforce, but they only occupy 25% of leadership position.
Yes.
A study was done by Harvard, and it shows that when women have been promoted to leadership positions, it has largely been in areas that are most closely associated with service-oriented functions, which are deemed more feminine, rather than operational and strategic functions, which are considered more masculine. Fujiya, you have been a leader in banking industry, now as the vice president, regional vice president for Operation Smile Morocco. What would you say is a major challenge you faced in your leadership journey, and how did you overcome it?
I think that the whole world recognize and know that the ladies or the women, they are very capable. They can take very high, leadership in very big companies and corporates and banks and clinics and hospitals and everything. But what is happening is that this strategy that is followed so far, it's not given the enough power to the ladies to be where they should be. But for my journey, it was okay. I have started as an assistant executive secretary at the bank, and I have followed my process of being promoted until I have reached the title of resident vice president of such a big bank like Citibank. So it is really an honor that I have been able to reach that. But why I have been able to reach that? Because I have been allowed to go through very special trainings, through some awareness programs, through some motivating programs, and my boss or my directors who were, of course, male, they have been trusting me and trusting my work and trusting the capabilities that I have. So they have been pushing me to do better and to go more and to do and to open, and they were opening for me new openings in order to achieve higher positions and to be in such a big leadership position in such a great bank. I think that any woman who is really motivated and has a very strong capabilities, she can reach very high. And the only thing that she should, that will be helping her to reach where she should be, is to be motivated by all means, okay? Motivated in terms of trainings, motivated in terms of salary increases, motivated by the openings of opportunities, motivated by the promotions. And this is not done by every single director or by in every areas or corporates. That's why, as of today, the journey for the ladies or for the women is still very tough, and they have to be strong in order to reach where they should be, and in order to arrive and realize all their objectives. And personally, I can see that the ladies in the health system, if I may jump to this subject, I think that the women are at the front line of the health workers, especially that the majority of the forehand are constituted by nurses, and the nurses, as we all know, they are women. Okay, nearly high percentage. I can say among, if we are having 100% of nurses, maybe 70% are all women. But they are not given the opportunity to grow, the opportunity to show what or to be where they should be. And this is putting them always in very low stages, and they are having not equal salaries like their peers demand. And this is not, I think that this is something that we should all say that this is not fair, and it should be corrected. It should be corrected in the whole world. If today we can see, and we are proud to say, that the women have been in the front line during COVID, and they have been saving lives, and they have been taking risks of their own lives to save others, then we know and we recognize that they are capable, and we know and recognize that they have been saving the communities of the whole world. So why we are still going to look down to them? We have to put them up, and we have to give them the opportunity to grow and the opportunity to take the leadership. And I think that it would just make this word an amazing word, an amazing word, an amazing workplaces where they are going to be. So we have just to continue encouraging them and motivating them and giving them the tools to show what they can do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Fujiya. That is amazing to just hear of your inspiring journey, and you also shedding light on the myriad of challenges that women aspiring into leadership positions face. I think it's important that you mentioned sponsorship, a support system, and being given that platform. So, Stembile, same question to you. What major, if any, challenge have you faced on your leadership journey, and how have you overcome it, and what would be your recommendation to others?
I think the journey to leadership, particularly in the health sector, I'm now talking about the health sector, not so much just the nursing and midwifery sector, is narrow. It's fraught with challenges, and it's a steep road to climb. I think one of the things that comes in, and a lot of the things that comes in either directly or in a subtle way, is the gender discrimination, the stereotyping of women as this very fragile human species that has limited capacities for certain things. I think that also has stereotyping women as dependent on a man for their well-being, therefore they don't need higher salaries than men. Men should be paid more because they lead the household. Those you experience, plus I've never experienced it, but I know some colleagues who have experienced sexual harassment in the workplace, which is very salient. Opportunities become very limited for women in a lot of ways, right from opportunities to sponsorship, like Fujiya said, to go for those leadership trainings. The other gender roles outside our workplace of being the mother, being a wife, also can be inhibiting. I can't take a job that moves me to Morocco unless I can take my entire family with me. And that also is limiting. I've found, and I've sat in interviews where comments are like, oh, okay, she just got married. She's got one small child. She's obviously in the childbearing age. She is not, she's going to go on maternity leave. She's going to ask for maternity leave very soon. And once those gender-related issues come up in decision making, they do inhibit women in climbing up that leadership role, and that is discrimination. The other one is bias, just inherent bias of whether women are really, really capable of making what is called those masculine decisions, or they go into all sort of emotions and things like that. I think that plays out as well as much of a barrier. I have seen and I've observed across where I've come from, where disempowerment of women, even where they are the minority in these boardrooms, where they just don't then have a voice. They don't come up and really be assertive to voice. Their confidence, their level of confidence gets downplayed by these men in there. I think the guidance or the recommendations I would make for anybody aspiring for leadership is that level the playing field. Forget the gender. Forget you're a woman. Look at everybody. Don't look at a human being. Look at a fellow leader. That's the one, and have your voice. It might not be listened to initially, but the more you talk, and women, we can talk, the more you'll be heard. The people will hear you, that you have a right for that space around that boardroom table, just like everybody else who is there. And you can make that fundamental decisions. You can make important decisions, particularly when those decisions affect other women. I think the other thing is men, whilst we they have to play a part. We have to mobilize men to play a part in ensuring that women climb the leadership role, that we have to call out men for things like, I think you are discriminating. That's a discriminatory statement. It might be made professionally, but really call out those things and come up with what can they contribute to women coming up, their leaders, their fathers. They aspire for their daughters to be somebody else. They aspire for their daughters to climb that ladder. Maybe for me, that might be a starting point for mobilizing men to come up. And I think for women, we really, really need to show ourselves and show our faces and show the confidence. And I think it goes to women that have managed to climb the ladder. I always say, and some of them are friends that I have, that your performance as a woman leader should be partly assessed against how many other women you have mentored to come into your role. How many young girls have you carved a path for to go into leadership and to believe that they can be leaders at the highest possible level they can reach? Thank you.
This is really amazing, Tembi. Thank you so much. Sunithra, over to you.
Yes, definitely. That was a good summarization of how there should be social support as well as initiative from women to climb up the ladder. So just following with that, what would be some changes, particular changes, and where would changes be implemented in a health system so that female healthcare workers, especially in the rural areas, in the underserved areas, who are at the very foundational element of a health system, come up the ladder and come up to make policy decisions? I know we talked about leveling the playing field. What other recommendations do you have bringing the foundational healthcare workers up to making policy decisions?
Well, I think that the changes in the health care system should be implemented in a lot of and several areas. I can say primary care, psychiatric care, emergency and observation care, the prenatal care, the transportation or ambulances services, the diagnostic services, the home care, and the dentistry services. And the areas they are still, and I think Stenbill can have more areas that to be highlighted. But to ensure the access to these essential healthcare services for vulnerable communities, we should ensure that care is equitable between men and women and culturally competent, which means that the right to exercise in these areas is equally managed to include female workers wherever it is possible and whenever it is possible. All the mentioned areas that I have said are very adequate for men and for women. Why we are not equitable in our choice, and why we are not given the possibility to the ladies to show their know-how and to share it with the population. I think that this is a question that we can ask, and for my per my readings and investigation, I think that the ladies or the women, they are not yet very incorporated in the political system. And we have to know that the political system now is linked to the health system. So if we would like to be involved, and if we would like to be recognized, and if we would like to have our, to see those disparities, far away, we have to be involved in the political system. Personally, I don't have anything to do with the political system because I don't like this field. But I think that the women, if they like to prove themselves, and if they like to be recognized as they are, they have to penetrate this field, and they have to show their know-how, and from there they can show that they are or they can just build up the strategies to show and to include the women in the decision making. So if they are included in as decision makers, they will reach where they should be. Okay, if they are not included in the decision making, they will be always left behind. So I think that this is very, very important to highlight, and we should encourage the ladies, or we should encourage the women to penetrate this field and to show their capabilities. Because if we go to, because according to the majority of the world population, women are equal to men in all areas: work, expertise, specialties, and even as capable as men in being in political leaders. If they are, we have seen, even in Morocco, we have seen the Minister of Health herself. 2 years, 3 years ago, she was a lady. So they have reached this position, but they are not always allowed to reach this position easily. So if once they are reaching them, they are doing and they are deploying great efforts, and they are doing great job. We have to, that's why we should penetrate, and we should push ladies and encourage ladies to go for this field and to show their know-how. In Morocco, my country, the same can be said for the women. For the women and their ability to handle high responsibilities in the management and of any political party, any corporate name, any company, any bank, any medical facility, clinic or center. Women are capable to dominate corporate boardrooms, to manage the staff members, to facilitate any subject, to create any connections, to build up strong teams, to incorporate some good initiatives. So, I mean, all those are qualities of the ladies, and what are we doing with them? We are not encouraging them. And I think still, not only in the health system, but in all the other fields as well, the woman is not valued by her just value. I mean, they are not giving her value, her right value. I think that if we open the door for the ladies, I think that tomorrow we can see that the rules are changed, and instead of having 25% of women in leadership positions and the other percentage is given for the men, I think that easily we can see the opposite, because the ladies, they are when they are taking their commitment for any job, they are doing it correctly. They are doing it with compassion, and they are very organized in what they are doing. And these are also two very positive values that are witnessed by the whole world towards the women. So I think that we have everything to be at the very upper positions and to occupy the leadership position if we continue to advocate for it and to continue to do what it should be done to have them. It's not, it is a right, but it's not a right that it is easy to get. We have to run after it to get it. It's a long journey, but we will end it by reaching out what it should be, where it should be. Thank you.
Those are very interesting perspectives, especially like you've been saying, social support. In addition to women taking up political roles, it will make it easy for them to transition to stronger policy decision making platforms. So I know Stembile, you also had very strong system strengthening experiences. What would can you shed some light on this, on how the women in the lower downs and the foundational elements can come up to the policy table?
I'm actually very grateful that you've asked this question. I think if we are to achieving a future, an equal future in this post-COVID era, I think we can't leave out the women or the health workers that are in the rural areas. I have come across them every time I hear some statements being made, and I think, can you imagine being in rural South Sudan and people are thinking you can join a WhatsApp group in a small health facility that doesn't have the basics. I think for me, the health workers that are working in the rural areas, I'll talk about the health workers that I've come across in rural Africa, for me are my champions. They are unsung heroes of the health workforce. They really are, because they are not recognized. They are posted there and they sometimes get forgotten. They also serve a population that carries the largest burden of disease, of family disease. And those populations are underserved, hard to reach, vulnerable, whatever language we use. They're serving in challenged situations. They're also serving challenged communities. That's why they are my hero. But how very often in leadership roles, when promotion comes, due to limited access to just even basic information, they don't compete as equals with their urban counterparts. And who gets promoted first is usually already in the urban areas and urban based. And they are not quite understood because they are not there when the policies are made. And for me, it's a huge anomaly. It's a gap. It's a gap that we need to narrow consistently as female leaders and as policymakers in the health sector. How then do you bring the voices of those health workers in the rural areas to the table to influence policies, to talk from experience? I will go back to one of the things I always said is that you can't make policies for people unless you've had the direct experience. We are very experiential in the way we approach our work, in the way we make decisions. We are experiential. And I think you need those experience to come to the table. I remember saying this, and I will use this platform to say it again, that I think for anybody to be promoted to a leadership position, particularly in my sector, in the nursing and midwifery sector, they should have saved some time in a rural health facility at the lowest level, at the front line. Make that a deliberate policy. Make that something that you look at as a requirement for a leadership role, because then we are talking, we are walking the talk when we do that. I think if you look at the various political structures, they start from grassroots, from little village committees that go up, and they have ways of mobilizing around political agenda right from the grassroots. And I think we can do that in the health sector. I think we can go down, have a bottom-up approach to policy development, than sit down in some workshop somewhere and develop a policy and expect it to function. I think most of the time we wake up and think, but why aren't they doing that? Because it's policy. Because they would have probably told somebody at a table that it's not going to work. It's not going to be easily applicable as thought out. I think the other thing is to open up opportunities when we are providing sponsorship for people to go for leadership training. I would also flip and say, give priorities to those that are bringing that experience of a holistic health system, particularly in our countries, in the developing countries. And those are some of those health workers that have worked and lived in rural areas. I think that we need to those deliberate policies that say, if you have saved in this, and I know a few countries that did that for public health, that if you want to come for your postgraduate, if you want to come for public health, you should have saved 2 years in a rural area. And it got a lot of doctors out there. It did. The only problem is when they then came for their education, they didn't go back, but they were replaced by other aspiring. So it can happen. It can happen in nursing and midwifery leadership. I think we can mobilize and hear the voices of those people that we deploy in the rural areas. I think I always remember a case and a situation in a country that I will not mention, where people in this human resources department in the Ministry of Health actually acknowledged that they'd never been to a rural area. They didn't know what those health facilities look like. What we were now feeding back into their system as information after an assessment that we had done, we're like, what? Oh, we wondered. They don't have internet? Kind of thing. And how do we get that? And I think we need to be able to adapt and adjust our situation. I remember talking to a colleague of mine, and we were talking e-learning, and I was saying, okay, let's look at a health worker, a nurse or a midwife in a rural area in the middle of Zimbabwe with no access. All they have is their Android phone. What can they do with that phone? And that's the technology. We need to make it applicable so that it goes down. We don't leave anybody out. That technology, developing their skills or training or mentoring, should be use technology that is applicable, that is adaptable to situations also in the rural areas. So as we evolve, as we go, that development should be adapted and not just favor the urban counterparts, because remember, they train at the same level. Some get deployed to the rural areas, and they do there, and they work, I think, more than anybody else. They make decisions. We trust them to make those leadership decisions, to provide health care in those disadvantaged communities or underserved communities, and yet we don't trust them when it comes to decision making in terms of promotion, in terms of their contribution to policy. I think we need to change the narrative. We need to look at how we can get their voices heard. That's one, and how we can reach them with appropriate technology that goes right down to that level, and not just dismiss if they don't have internet and therefore that's it. You can't develop their leadership skills. And in fact, they are leaders in their communities. And I think Fauziya did say we need to advocate for changes in policy. Those of us that have the opportunities and privilege to sit at these tables, we really need to advocate for everybody. We can't have equality for one segment and leave out another segment. I think as women, if we are to achieve equality, we need to move and ensure that we are inclusive and we do not leave anybody behind.
Wow, those were wonderful anecdotes. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, and especially giving those suggestions, like making the technology actually accessible, and how having the knowledge is very important in stepping up the leadership ladder. I think those are very practical suggestions that can be implemented. Like you said, there are countries who might have already. So, moving on, just curious, as women leaders, would you be able to share one mentor you have, or one person you look up to as a women leader? Fujiya, maybe you can start.
Yes, I can. I'm very proud to say that in my banking process, I have met with a lady who has studied in Harvard. She is a Moroccan young lady. When she first came to my department as a marketing head, I was a bit not very comfortable, because she's very young and I'm much more older than her, and she's coming to take the upper position. But when she started and we have worked together, I was really inspired by this lady. She is really someone. She's really a great mentor. She showed us a lot, and we learned a lot from her. Even though she is younger, it's not about the age, it's not about the color, it's not about anything that you can just think about that it will make a difference. It's the competence, and she is very competent, and she means a lot in my life. She was very professional. She has been able to climb up the leadership, and she is the General Secretary of one of the ministry here in Morocco. She is working hard, and to the point that I have given her name to my little baby, the daughter of my daughter. So I mean, she has marked my life, and I think that those kind of people are opening in front of us the doors, and they are showing us what it should be done, and they are motivating all the people around them. Maybe because
that's very interesting to note that there are women mentors that we have look up to. And thank you for sharing your personal story, Fujiya. Stembile, can you also share what inspires your work, and if you have a inspirational person? Just some quick anecdotes.
I think I think for me, I have many. They come and go, depending on what angle I'm looking at. I think one of the people that I will cite that come very easily to mind is the current head of UNAIDS, Winnie Byanyima. I think I've followed her journey from when she was with the UN and she went to Oxfam as the first female African head of Oxfam, left, and she's now heading UNAIDS, which is a very clinical person. Winnie is an engineer. And she's in this male-dominated, medical-dominated field. And what inspires me about her is that she really is the voice. She takes every opportunity, plus using social media to advocate for equality, for women equality. She advocates for ensuring that there is fairness, there's justice, there's equality. Like right now, she's singing a lot about the COVID vaccine, ensuring that the developing countries, particularly where it's needed, everybody should have access as a right. And I think it's that, having that voice, using your position, using in any way you can, whether you're seated in a boardroom, whether you're using social media to get the word out and stand up for equality in leadership, for inspiring a younger generation and making everybody believe they can get there. I think today she's the one I would cite. I would also cite our newly appointed head of WTO. Those women who make people believe, those where a young girl can look at them, they are humble, they are ordinary, they are mothers, they are wives, that they can be head of WTO tomorrow. They can head UNAIDS tomorrow. And I think for me, those that they inspire me because they have not forgotten where they came from. They've not forgotten the journey they walked to get there. And they're voicing it, they're advocating for it in every way they can. And that's why they are my heroes and they are my inspiration today.
Definitely. They are truly inspiring and pioneering in so many aspects. Definitely. Thanks for sharing your inspirations. Maimuna, over to you.
Thank you, Sunithra. And actually, you, Tembi, and Madam Fujiya are my own inspiration. I've just hearing you, working with you closely, Fujiya, is seeing how you've just led your respective teams and the works you've done is really inspiring. You mentioned Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I am really proud of her as a fellow Nigerian, and her path to ascending leadership of the World Trade Organization. It's interesting that you said, they did not forget where they are from. They are truly representing. One of the things that Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala said was there was a time as the Minister of Finance, they called her Okonjo Wahala, just meaning trouble, because she was assertive. So one of our audience asked the question that female leaders are often described as bossy, while male leaders are just demonstrating leadership skills. How do you think we can tackle or change these assumptions? Fujiya, I'll start with you if you can just answer that quickly. How can we change the assumptions that women who are leaders are bossy?
This should not be negative, but if they are saying that means that they would like to show that they are chief. I don't think that it is something that they will accept. I think that the ladies, when they are handling a position, they are very humble and they are trying to be down to earth and trying to be at the level of at any level from their hierarchy. So if they are speaking to the bottom, the bottom of the hierarchy, they will go down and speak to them the way it should be. If they are speaking to the highest level, they will go up to them and speak to them the way it should be. I don't think that the ladies, and I don't think that this way of saying that they are bossy. I don't share this opinion. Sorry, unless if it is from the other positive way, then okay, it's not a problem.
Thank you so much, Fujiya. That is really, really helpful. So Stambile, or Tembi, one of our audience asked is, and I know you've addressed this, but I just want you to shed more light, is what could be ways that women can be brought more into the public health field or the global health field?
I think in the public health or in global health and bringing women, I think it's really cutting across the professional barriers, the professional boundaries that define. I think one of the things we find in public health is you're a nurse, you're a doctor, you're a dentist, you're a dentist, you're an ophthalmologist, you're an ophthalmologist. I think we need to cut across that. And I think I see a movement towards that everybody starts in one field, in like a kind of a biomedical field with no specialty, and then you branch into different specialties from there. I think that would help. That would also bring in people to realize that they have opportunities in all these different fields. I think there are a lot of women in public health. They're just not there in the leadership arena. They're a quarter of the leadership in global health. And I think what we want is to be able to increase. I think the opportunities for increasing are there. I always say to my nurses and midwives colleagues, listen, hey, we have power in majority. We have power. We have the voice in being many. Let's use that voice. Let's advocate for increasing from 24% to 25%. There are a lot of studies there's a lot of data that supports that if you have women in leadership, you ultimately improve health indices for not just the women themselves, but for children and ultimately for the families. So let's use that data. We have data that some of the countries that did well with COVID have women leadership. And let's unapologetically use that data to advocate that women can make a difference, that we need more women leaders, that 24% of the entire global health workforce is women leaders is not enough. Not in this century. It's really not enough. We need women making decisions. Health is really a gender issue, and we need to cut those barriers. I think I would encourage the emerging women or women that are entering global health to look for women mentors. And organizations like Core Group are now calling out creating these mentor-mentee relationships with younger people in global health so that they get mentored by women who have broken the barriers, the gender barriers, and made their journey into leadership, to share that experience and to mentor. And I would encourage it, not just in the US, but in a lot of countries. Women like to mentor. By nature, we nurture people. And therefore, we are open to mentoring, we are open to showing, we are open to really helping, and let's use that as an advantage amongst ourselves to nurture the young professionals that are coming, that, you know what, you live in a world that is much, much broader than when I was growing up, that you can make it, you can get to the top, you can cut across those barriers.
Yeah, those were really interesting perspectives. Thank you so much. And now we have a question from a young person, which would be very apt for you women leaders to answer. Um, the question is, how do you keep yourself motivated and enthusiastic along the way to the top? How do we persevere and keep up the motivation? Fujiya, you would be able to answer.
Yeah, well, I think that if you like and you love what you are doing, if you are committed to your job, if you are not doing it just to show off, but you are doing it for the population, you are doing what you do for the right cause, then you can just be inspired and you can just continue what you are doing and excel in what you are doing, and you are not, there is nothing and no barriers that will stop you from what you are doing if you love what you are doing and you have all the capabilities inside you to show it and to share it with the rest of the population. So I think that when you grow in age, you are more mature and you can see what is to be done or what should not be done and how it should be. And these are things that you gain with experience, and you advocate for it in the field that you are occupying and in the field that you are in which you are exercising. And I can tell you that for if we go back to the healthcare employers, I think that the healthcare employers can support women throughout their organization, from the entry level and up to the top leadership positions. Not only in one stage, but in all different stages, and they are the one who are going to motivate them and to push them to grow until they will reach this leadership position. I think that they could easily do this by being fair in their evaluations, by promoting their workers based on their capacities, capabilities, and merits, and not by any other means and differentiations in the middle of their job. It's not. We will not give a promotion to a man just because of his gender. We will give a promotion. This is a promotion. If you merit as a woman, you merit this promotion, you will have it. If he is a man and he merited more because he has proven that it should be, he should be him, then we will give it to him. And I think that if we follow those, I personally believe that the women can easily climb the leadership ladder if she is provided by the needed support and the needed trainings and the needed openings and support that she deserves to have. The women they are having, and they have all the qualities that a man can have. The same thing. There is no segregation between the two genders. But if we don't give them the same and similar opportunities to grow, then we are making a difference. It's not the lady or the man who is making a difference. I think it's a mentality, and it depends on some countries and on some. I mean, if you go country by country, you can find that maybe it differs from one country to country, but globally, globally, we say that a man or a woman are both born the same way and they have the same capabilities and they have the same genes and they can just do whatever it should be done to grow. So if we give them the opportunity, they will show what they're capable to do. And this is how we can just advocate for this.
Thank you so much, Madam Fujiya. That is really inspiring, and it's definitely given us a lot of food for thought. Tembi, you had mentioned, mentorship being very important, and one of our audience also emphasized that it's very, very important to mentor that next generation, and people need to also be mentored by people who share like a lived experience with them, because that is when the mentorship aspect is really effective. And I would even expand it and say it's not just enough to mentor; you also have to coach and support up and coming women. The campaign for the International Women's Day this year is Choose to Challenge. So, Tembi, in one sentence, what will be your call to action as you choose to challenge stereotypes and you work to ensure that women are part of that equal future in a COVID-19 world?
I believe you're on mute.
You're muted, Tembi.
I would choose to challenge discrimination, bias, and stereotyping of women. And I would choose to challenge it by ensuring that young girls have a voice. I think that's where we have to start. I think you don't want to start with me if I'm past. I think you need to start with the future generation if we are to shape a different world.
Thank you so much, Tembi. This is actually, we're wrapping up now. For anyone who happened to join midway or late, this is Public Health in Real Life series. And today we've been interviewing and speaking with phenomenal women. Fujiya Mahmudi, Vice President of Operation Smile Morocco, Middle East, North Africa region, and Tembi Mugore, a nurse leadership, a health system strengthening expert, and we've had an amazing time. Today we were talking about International Women's Day, women in leadership, achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world. And for anyone who's new, please, this is just one of many series where we work to empower people and shed more light on global health issues. So please subscribe to our channel. Feel free to reach out to us with any needs or any questions. Fujiya, Tembi, thank you so much for your time once again. We've had an amazing time. We've learned a lot, and our audience feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. Sunithra, I don't know if you have anything else to add as we wrap up.
Sure, definitely. This has been a very eye-opening as well as motivating discussion. I think a lot of youngsters like our audience, they'll definitely take away a lot of things from this. Thank you so much, both of you, for those insights.
Thank you.
Thank you once again. You all stay safe and be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And happy Women's Day again.
Happy Women's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Same to you. Same to you.